time to watch for the moves. They're not hard to find. Strong arm tactics so loud, only themselves in mind. Every player has dreams of making ORCA fame. They'll live on in the minds of those who get in their way. ORCA's all say, don't come for me. Midners boots, they're so vain. As we set up the podcast webcam, the party's here to talk ORCA game. ORCA King CK with delusions of fame. In this LRG world, he's the apex predator. Danny and Jules in tow, always ready to go. Now it's time for the show. They're the apex predators.
Hello and welcome to the ORCA Pod, the Apex Predators of Australian Survivor LRG podcasting. I have a very exciting show for you tonight and for myself. Those that know me may know that I love to complete a list. I love to get the whole set of something. And today we are completing that set by having on the show. We've obviously covered 11 seasons in this rank down of Australian LRGs, and we're having on the show the only 3 people that have never been on the show but have played twice in this countdown. So it's fantastic to get them on and to hear them talk about their experiences as a 2-time player versus, of course, a 1-time player, the strengths, the weaknesses. Are you better? Are you more paranoid? Do you worry about legacy, or do you leave it all out there to succeed? They all have different stories with their second time. So it's going to be fascinating to hear their input and also their take on how that impacted this season to the extent that they watched it with Ma and John. We have one more episode in our coverage for the second best season as voted by you, Canberra 2, The Ultimate Sacrifice, where I'll be handing out the awards. Of course, the ORCA of the season. Will it be James Wolfe or someone else? I don't know. It's probably James Wolfe. But I don't know. I'm yet to assemble the Congress of the ORCAs for their decision, which will be happening shortly. So be prepared, Congress, for your decision. Of course, all the other awards of lesser importance will be handed out, and we will chat with Dan and Liv about everything that went into making The Ultimate Sacrifice. And then at some point after that, maybe a week later, maybe 2 weeks later, we will cover the greatest season as voted by you. I didn't rig it. It's my season. I didn't make this happen. The people have spoken. What are you going to learn? That's what democracy is. Playing with fire is the greatest season, and I get to talk about myself for 5 weeks, and I couldn't be more pleased. Half of it, I was booted pretty quickly at Merge, but I'm in 8 episodes. That's a sufficient amount to talk about myself. So that's coming up. I'm sure you're looking forward to it as much as I am. That will be coming up, but we've got to finish our Canberra coverage first, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce them, and I'll introduce them individually. The 3 guests that we have here. I'm going to bring in the one with the most interesting story, but it's not going to get into the story because we want to hear all of their insights where they're all there. But I don't know if Emily knows this. I'm bringing in Emily, spoiler. I don't know if Emily knows this, but she might be under the impression that she came 3rd in Melbourne too. But we on this show, and we are the official voice of this community, and nothing else matters, have determined that under Tour de France rules, the first place winner, Jake, and his secret boyfriend, Nick, have been disqualified due to their secret relationship. And we've determined that as the next best placing person, Emily is actually the winner of Melbourne 2. So congratulations to Emily if you're not aware of this. And of course, her second time, first boot. So, first to worst. But frankly, I'd be first boot a million times if I had a win. So let's, without further ado, bring in one of the members of the illustrious LRG family, the Jays. Emily, welcome.
Hi. I was
Did you
not
know
aware.
that we've determined you're the winner. Look,
Okay.
it may be the secret relationship, and maybe because Jake's the only winner, I couldn't get to come on the deep dive. But frankly, either way, you've got the chocolates now.
Okay. Brilliant. Thank you.
Great to have you here. We're going to get all your insights, but I'll bring in the next people first. Now, as I just said, you went from first to worst, and sometimes you have a better start, and this not a great start, pre-merge. That's a bit shitty. And then you come in again at a second time and you go almost all the way to the end to a very, very powerful final 6 in what I consider to actually be the best season of the 11 of these. And that's Mitch coming in for Yards Apart and Melbourne 1. Welcome, Mitch.
Hello, thank you. I don't know what to say. Your intro was fantastic.
Thank you. I know you've been keen to get on the show. You were very disappointed when you didn't make it to the Yards Apart tea party, but that's a very exciting cast. I'm not saying you're not exciting, Mitch, but sometimes
no,
it's just
I was okay. I was okay, but the tea party was very fun to watch.
But you sent me a message of disappointment that you thought that was your one chance to get on the podcast. I'm like, I've got an idea, Mitch, and here it is. So wonderful to have you here.
All right. I might need to go back and check that message.
And finally, sometimes you go on one of these things and you're doing fine, and then there's a swap and you get swap screwed, and that sucks. But, that's the way Survivor goes sometimes. So you go and play again, and you're doing fine, and you get swapped, and you get swap screwed, and you get booted pre-merge again, complete luck outside your control. That is the story of Rose. Welcome, Rose.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Well, I'm glad to have all three of you here. This is so exciting. Let's start it off. I want you guys to tell me who your favorite two-time player is that isn't yourself and not on this show. Who do you think did it best? Who has the best two-game resume?
Is it 2 or more?
Sure, why not?
Well, I haven't watched a lot, so I'm just going to have to go with my brother Keegan and go with that.
Your brother has an impressive record. He's always made merge each 3 times that he's played, and his backyard game with Mitch was his best game by quite a far way. It was very strategically strong. But how do you feel now, Emily, knowing that he's the only sibling in your? I assume you only have the 3 of you. If there's another sibling, they're not canon.
I've got 6 siblings, so it's a big family.
To my narrative, the other siblings are not canon. The canon siblings, you are the only one. Keegan is the only one who hasn't got a win, because now we've determined you're the winner of Melbourne 2. And of course, Toby won Melbourne 1. So does that make you feel good that you have that up on Keegan?
Yeah, it definitely makes me feel a lot better knowing that I can now gloat about it to him.
At the very least, you could have already gloated that you've made a final tribal council, as has Toby, and he has not.
I think that's good, and I think you should bring that up more because, if anything, that I think Keegan, I think that's fair enough for Keegan. So he's going around there, winning challenges, telling people to stop talking during voting. I think, let him know that.
Keegan was a strong challenge performer. He always is, and that's part of his downfall. But Emily, in your winning season, you were an incredible challenge beast. Did you think that played a threat to you going into Canberra?
I definitely think that Melbourne Survivor played a big threat in that I didn't realise that I became popular. I didn't realise how many people had watched it and everything like that. So coming into Canberra Survivor, a lot of people knew about me, and I had no clue that they knew anything about me. So that definitely played a big part of it.
So you weren't prepared for the fact that they knew about you and they knew about you. So it was sort of, did you realise very quickly that people knew who you were once you got to Canberra?
No. So it was a complete shock. It was only after I was voted out that I knew how many people actually knew about me and recognised me and stuff like that. It was weird. I was not expecting.
Were you expecting people would know your brother was on the other tribe?
Not a lot of people knew that we were related.
Okay.
Like I got through playing Melbourne Survivor season 2 with nobody picking up that I was related to him or Toby. Okay. And so I didn't really think about it that way. Like I knew people had seen us rock up together, so I was aware that people would know that we were at least knew each other, but I didn't know whether or not they would know that he was my brother.
So the threat came more from the game, the strong game that you played in Melbourne 2.
Yes, I believe so.
And we'll talk about your unceremonious exit on the second occasion shortly. But let's go to Mitch. Who do you think is one of the best two-time or multi-time players? But I should flag, if we're talking about a season, I know there's people that have played in unaired seasons for second or maybe third times. Let's not spoil that for everybody. We're talking about the 13 seasons that have been released, the 11 we covered, and the most recently released being Canberra 3 and Backyard 5.
Well, I was thinking that, there are two people who've played twice, and they're people we'd probably talk about tonight, and have actually won one of those 2 times that they played. So I think Ma and John definitely deserve to be in that conversation as winners.
I love having all of you here for this conversation because that's why we're doing it. It's a factor to Ma's game, and she will admit that herself in the interview we did. But they also knew each other. So it's this combination. Generally, when you are a returning player, people may know you or you may know others. That's a factor that tends to come in just due to the nature of the community that doesn't exist the first time you play. Mitch, of course, when you played for a second time, you were also playing with Keegan and playing with Keegan for a second time. So now I think a lot more people would probably watch Melbourne 2 than had watched the 26 minutes of Melbourne 1. But did anyone identify you when you arrived at Yards Apart?
As far as I know, no one at Yards Apart knew who Keegan and I were or knew that we might know each other. But I think it is probably important, and Rose might speak to this as well, that for Melbourne season 1, a lot of us knew each other and had played in some sort of game prior, whether it was just the trial beforehand or other games. So Keegan had seen me play, for example, before Melbourne season 1 even. So there's definitely a lot of history with a lot of the people in that game.
And Rose, do you have, besides the people we mentioned, you can just say John and Mara if you like, but if there's someone else you'd like to raise as you think is a person we've seen play twice who has, you think is one of the better ones still, let me know.
Look, I'm going to do a vote for less than, I'm going to go slightly rogue potentially. So I think in terms of I think in terms of people to play with, Kyle, always a charmer, always lovely to play with. I actually don't know. In terms of, I'm thinking now, was his second time actually a film version or not? And I'm wondering if maybe that disqualifies him.
Well,
but
Kyle did play in an American version, if that's what we're referring to. And I think it was filmed.
Yeah, I know I've done another unfilmed one. So I would say Kyle, always lovely, but also for sheer just entertainment. Shush. But also for sheer entertainment, Tara, always. You just having been on the other side of the camera as well, like you just get gold and you're just nodding along the whole time. So
she's saying she was wrong. There's something called Survivor Challenge. So she's wrong. You're right.
Sounds a bit like a casual to me.
Is that common in your relationship with Liz that she accepts fault, or is that one of these? It's a rarity.
She would say it's not common from me, so someone has to.
And look, for me, the person I have to speak to that I always enjoyed watching a second time was Calvin. And I think what Calvin did, which a lot of the people you've talked about, and I want to talk to you guys about in your experience. Calvin, on his second time, sometimes it might be a bit like you're playing with house money. So you can go bigger and harder and whatever because, you had a shot at this once. But equally, if your first time didn't go the way you wanted it to go, you could feel like, no, I'm not playing with house money. I'm one of the few people who get a second chance. I want to maximize this second chance and not be silly about it, which is actually how I feel all three of you were in your returning games. You weren't go big and go home. It was, we're going to play smarter. I want to hear from you. What did you think about from your first time to your second time? Did you evaluate yourself? Did you think about ways you could improve what you'd learned, or did you just go in sort of winging it based on some gut feels from the first time? Anyone who wants to jump in?
I think for me, I wasn't thinking so much of how I played in Melbourne Survivor 1. I was thinking more of how I'd played in other games prior. So I'm sorry to keep harking back to that, but I was thinking of mistakes that I'd made in those games or things that I felt I'd done well in those games and trying to emulate those moving into Yards Apart. So and also thinking of things that I'd seen other people do and trying to use those strategies. But yeah, I don't know that I really pulled on my Melbourne Survivor Season 1 game that much. There are elements of it though. So for example, I was really, really wary of Keegan the whole time.
Well, he particularly had the evil goatee that season and was playing the villain. But you came. I'll just talk to you a bit slightly about that season. That's one of that is the season with the smallest starting tribes. A tribe of 4. There is absolutely nowhere to hide. Did you find that that could be quite make some players quite nervous, or did you find that you had enough experience to just be still, be calm, make the relationships, do what you need to do to survive that initial phase? And I believe you just threw someone under the bus from memory.
Yeah, well, I think it's thinking back to that 4-person tribe and having to go to the first tribal council. Obviously you're nervous because there's no really safe position in that. And yet I wasn't that worried that it was going to be me. I was more just worried that my plan might get a little hiccup in it. So I remember feeling like I had a pretty good read on the other 3 people in that tribe and where they were going to go and how each of them thought they could move forward and that I was in everyone's plan. And so, I didn't feel too stressed. But obviously, people, you're not going to feel too confident no matter how you slice it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but did you not tell sweet, innocent Holly that it's all good and you were voting for James? Daniel, yes. Yeah, egomaniac Daniel. You said we're all voting for him, poor sweet, innocent Holly, and you're just loaded up on Holly. Is that not what you did to this poor woman, Mitchell?
I mean, I think, we did. We all voted out Holly. But at the end of the day, you want to get a majority. And so whoever that person is, there was a lot of talk about maybe bananas and idols and clues. And I think just knowing that you could potentially make it a blindside is kind of exciting. And it was nothing against Holly. And obviously reflecting on what happened in her second game as well. I don't think she deserved that.
Wasn't your fault.
But in terms of having to go to the first tribal council, someone's got to go home, and you don't want it to be you, and you don't want it to be 2 people that you've really connected with and who, prior to losing the challenge, have made a commitment to work with you moving forward. So for me, I didn't want it to be Daniel, and I didn't want it to be Casey, because they were both part of my plans. And as far as I could see, I was part of their plan, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to be part of people's plans. And so that probably is one of the main things I took into that game, was that you need to be part of someone else's plan more than get them into yours.
And did you think, was it easier to be deceptive like that, to destroy someone's dream, having played the first time? And, I only played one time, but, savage moves are made. And in the aftermath, everyone's fine. It's a game. People are friendly. Some people become really good friends. Some people become solid acquaintances. No one generally holds a grudge. But you don't, in the moment, until you've been through the full experience, I don't think you can appreciate that at the end, no one will care. But at the time, it can be hard to make those savage moves.
Yeah. No, I don't. Well, look, I'm thinking back again to the first time I ever played, and it was filmed. It is on YouTube. Toby ran a season. And again, a lot of us knew each other, and my tribe wanted to vote in a circle so we'd all tie. And I was like, no way. So I voted the wrong direction and voted out a real life friend early in the game, just because I didn't want it to be me. I wasn't going to leave it up to chance. And I needed to do something that would be believable. And so I just lied and said, oh, it was so confusing. I accidentally went the wrong way. So no, For me, it was probably easy from the first moment.
Can someone please link me this Survivor challenge if it's on YouTube? I'll go back and cover it. We'll do it as a bonus thing. How long is this thing? Is it like just a whole season, or are we talking about a 30-minute special?
Do you mean the one that Kyle did, or the one that Toby organised?
Is the Survivor challenge the filmed one?
So the Camp Survivor is one that Toby organised.
Not filmed.
Liz played in it. I played in it.
That was so long back. That was
like
a long time.
I want to get
2018,
and it's on YouTube. So I'll see if I can send you a link. Because
give me the link.
Yeah, I think it might be worth the watch.
Now, Rose, did anyone know who you were going into Canberra? You'd played the 26-minute aired season. You're also, the sister of the most famous face in the community at that time. Maybe still at this time. A lot of people's first experiences are seeing Liz. Did people know who you were when you walked into Canberra season 1?
That's a great question. I'm really trying to cast my mind back, and now I think that some did, but more those who were already kind of in the online community or friends of friends. I think that your average kind of there's always a collection of people who have signed up a bit more randomly, or have only kind of one connection maybe in to the community, and I don't think they knew. That's my recollection, at least.
And were you on the same starting tribe as Emily, if I recall? Is that correct? And you knew each other, obviously, right? Like, you, not just from playing, but the family connections. Obviously, go back a while with the church group or otherwise. Are you guys friends in real life? Was there a connection there, or was it more of an acquaintance relationship between the two of you going into that season?
I mean, I think we're friendly, but we mostly only saw each other at like specific events.
Yeah, it was more like through events and stuff. And going in, a lot of people knew that we knew each other. And yet I was like, I'm just as easily ready to vote out Rose if that's the option that we're going with. And I think Rose was exactly the same for me as well. I think pretty definite she was really annoyed that she wasn't told that I was the vote, if I remember correctly.
I think so.
And you managed to survive that situation. You actually find yourself a bit pre-swap in a very good position on that season. And obviously I can't speak too much what happened at Melbourne, but for my analysis, we did do a 2-hour analysis of that 26-minute video. It seemed that you got swap screwed just based purely on the numbers. I think you were 2-5 down in Melbourne and got booted. There's not much you can do about that. In this situation, you've clawed back. You built some relationships. I think with Jeremy. I think with Dom, perhaps. Maybe with Brad as well. I think you're in an okay with those guys, and you get swapped. And now you find yourself with Keegan, who but he's, of course, come off from the other tribe and in a number deficit. Did you immediately think, this is just deja vu? Like, this is exactly what happened to me last time. Because Keegan also, I believe, was swapped in Melbourne 1 to your tribe, and he was, again, in the majority numbers. So it was almost the exact same circumstances. No fault of your own, bad survivor luck. Did you think, what the fuck? How has this happened to me again?
Pretty much. It's just like my survivor curse, honestly. You can't make this up. And I don't know, someone who did maths beyond year 10 can maybe judge the odds of that happening, and maybe it's actually higher than one would think. But the absolute pattern that seems to repeat every time I play, how much of it is me, and Liz tells me my social game's always the same and she's sick of seeing me play. So, maybe I'm bringing it on myself, but
What does she say? What is she saying about your social game?
She, no, but that it's the same game. Which I think is true. It's just I think I just naturally fall into a particular way of hyper socializing almost. Which is because thanks, Liz. You definitely didn't say that, but okay. It's because I think you can fall into traps, right? Like I think because again, it's that thing of Survivor does kind of strip back, especially on such a time-intensive game. It strips back a lot of things. So you can come in going, no, I'm going to do this differently, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to try this out. And yeah, like you're always evolving, you're always trying slightly different things, but fundamentally you tend to fall back on what your instinct or your immediate approaches, I think. So it's pretty hard to really radically shift.
Yes. When you get in the pressure cooker, you can have better plans and better strategies because you've got more experience. But at the end of the day, in the pressure cooker, your personality comes out. I think if you played a full game of Survivor, like a 26-day or a 39 or a 55, I think you could actually temper yourself a bit better because you have time to collect yourself, to think, to go away, on your own for a moment and just, get your cool, have a thought about what your situation is, what your plan is. But these LRGs are so quick and so reactionary that you end up running a lot on instinct. So it's very hard to fake anything. I think we could all agree on that. I now turn to you, Emily. As we said, look, winner or top three, either way, an amazing performance in Melbourne 2. And you come into Melbourne 1, and I think, like, without wanting to be dismissive of the game you play in Melbourne, which is a very strongly understated sort of underdog game where people are targeting you, but not really. You got the social bonds, but you're not like the key social driver like Jake is. And you make it you deserve more votes than you get, which I think is 0. You certainly deserve more than that because you play a very strong challenge and social game, but you're a bit of a quieter person in the general story. When you come into Canberra, this episode is all about you. You're finding idols, you're playing idols, there's revotes, you're playing big. Did you plan to play big, or did you find yourself in a situation where you were in a bad spot and you had to go big? Sorry, did you hear that, Emily?
No, sorry. It all froze on me. You said something about finding idols. That's where I lost you all.
Yeah, you found an idol. You were playing big. And I'm question: did you plan to play big, or was it the circumstances that forced you into playing big, and then you were comfortable doing that? Pulling out an idol at tribal, playing, but not playing it, which was a bold move in itself. Am I right about this? Did you find the idol?
Yeah, I did find the idol. Everyone knew about the idol. It was just that I went and grabbed it.
And so it's bold to grab it, be a target, but not play it. Like, that's bold play.
Yeah. So I didn't necessarily think I could up Melbourne Survivor. Like, Melbourne Survivor was awesome. I loved every minute of it. And totally surprised myself with getting as far as I did. Coming into Canberra Survivor, I actually wasn't supposed to be playing. I was coming as crew. I came in as crew and got a text the night before to say somebody had pulled out. Can you play?
Awesome.
So
are you excited?
I wasn't actually prepared mentally to come in and play the game. So I think that also didn't help because I didn't have time to think about, I'm probably going to be somebody that people know because they'll have watched Melbourne Survivor. I didn't have any of that sort of thought process beforehand. So I kind of just came in on the fly, ready to go, ready to try some things. But yeah, I feel like mainly for me, my game always starts by getting a feel of where the tribe is and then making a decision of where I want to play. So I don't think I got that far to be able to make a decision of fully how I wanted to play the game.
What about the decision, though, to grab the idol, which is already going to make you a target if you weren't one already, which you were, and then you didn't play it, obviously trying to save it. It's an implied idol. It gives you another round to play it. Like, you get to play it the next one. You probably have to there, but at least gives you 2 rounds to sort of be maneuvering yourself. It's smart strategy, but it's risky. Was that like a situation where you're playing with house money and I'm going to play hard and I'm going to make probably the optimal choice, but the riskiest choice here. And I don't care if I'm first boot, I'm going hard, or we're not really thinking that much in the moment?
I can't say I was thinking that much in the moment. I did not think I was going to be first boot. Like, I did not see myself as a first boot kind of option. Like, I can see definitely you want to get rid of me eventually, but also at the same time, I feel like I'm more likely to help you play the game and be able to do the puzzle side, because not a lot of people were like, we can do puzzles. I was about the only one, I think, that mentioned that they could do puzzles. So I felt like I wasn't somebody you wanted to get rid of straight away. And so, yeah, I was like, may as well grab the idol, because I didn't want somebody, like the wrong person, to get the idol, because I can't even remember who we were voting. I have no idea. Oh, no, was it? Oh, Jeremy?
Oh, you know what? There was a Jeremy plan.
Jeremy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not pick up on that. Was
sorry, there wasn't there?
That was a last minute swap. So I should have picked up on it, but it was hence coming into the game like not prepared to play it. But yeah, no. So I think I was more worried about Jeremy picking up the idol, because everyone knew about the idol. Yeah. And so that to me was, I'd prefer to just grab it and make sure that the wrong person doesn't play it, and should have played it at hindsight.
How did you feel? You know, we've talked to a lot of people that have been the first boot on this show, and you know, it's a challenge for most of them mentally. After the game, some struggle with that. Some never wanted to come on the show. Some never wanted anything to do with the community or the program again. Did you find that, given it was a second time, it was a bit, whatever? Like, or was it still pretty cutting?
Oh, it was a shock, to be honest. But at the same time, I wasn't disappointed in the fact that I wasn't going to play. So I wasn't hyped up or ready to play. So if I'd been hyped up, ready to play, and then got voted out, it probably would have been worse.
It's a funny situation now that we turn to the season we're looking at with Canberra, the ultimate sacrifice. And I want to just stick with you, Emily. So we'll get everyone's input, but your input's particularly relevant, Emily. First, let's talk about John, who'd come off winning Melbourne 3 a couple of weeks before this. And as we've said, you're now the winner of Melbourne 2, though you didn't appreciate that was the case at the time. And he was also an alternate for the ultimate sacrifice. He was not cast intentionally. He was found out the night of, or the morning of, that he was going to be playing in the ultimate sacrifice. A very similar scenario to you, Emily, in John's story. Also knowing someone of the cast really well, in obviously not a sibling, but he and Ma were very, very close at this point, still are, but have become very good friends at that point. They actually traveled up together. They were staying together the night before, John and Ma, when John got the call that he was playing. And so put on separate tribes like yourself and Keegan. But very similar stories here. John manages to survive once again. And he's made an art form out of surviving tribal councils. I don't think anyone in this community has gone to more tribal councils than John. And you had that experience too, Emily, of course, because you went to quite a few through Melbourne too. What do you guys think, John was doing? For those of you who watched John in Melbourne 3 and then watched him here, what do you think he did differently, or did he just play the same because his style works for him?
I can't really answer that because I haven't watched Canberra Survivor Season 2. I've briefly seen a little bit of stuff, but I haven't seen it enough to be able to tell you anything. So had Melbourne Survivor Season... I'm so busy and so tired all the time that I don't have time for this stuff. Had Melbourne Survivor Season 3 aired? Or had it just been filmed?
It had not aired. This is the benefit that John and Ma had. No one knew about them. No one had seen them play before.
Yeah, that probably was a bigger advantage for him, where everyone had seen me play, and I think that made me a bigger threat. But that'd be my only guess. Definitely, I think he's probably way more charismatic than I am as well. So on that aspect of meeting him for season 3 for Melbourne Survivor. He is way more charismatic. So he'd be way better at making friends than I am.
Mitch, you have any thoughts on John's second time?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember it. I did watch it. I have seen Canberra season 2. But it was a while ago. I've been keeping up with the podcasts, though. I think he is just a good player, and he seems to integrate really well with other people, and other people just seem to want to work with him. So, yeah, maybe something about the charisma, about charm, about, not coming on strong or anything, but appealing as a really good ally for people to latch onto. Yeah, I think from my memory of his Canberra 2 game and his Melbourne 3 game, he seems to be in a pretty good position, at least through all of the pre-merge. I'm trying to remember, there might be some exceptions to that, but yeah.
In Canberra?
In Canberra. Sorry, did I say something?
Yeah. No. It's the same thing as Melbourne. They almost go to every single tribal council, and he's never really the target. Like, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Melbourne.
And it was the advantage Eden sort of situation that ended up getting in Canberra. And how do you control for that?
Right.
You can't.
Yeah.
So
there's only 2 people that could get voted out.
To be honest.
Rose, do you have any thoughts, or you've not really kept up with these seasons?
I've ducked in and out a bit, but I will say the one I'm least good on is season 2. But I can say John was my winner pick for Melbourne 3.
There you go.
And so I feel quite proud of that because I think I'd met John just before I even watched it. So I obviously in no way manifested this, but from my chronology of events, I feel like I did. I did really like his game. Look, I just think, it's always, as soon as you win anything or you even get really far in anything, much like Emily's experience that we were just talking about, it's just really hard to come into anything else next and not have a target in your back, unless there's someone else who's got a bigger target or an equal target or some sort of winners at war situation. Because you're just too obvious. And it's not even that you necessarily are a big risk, but it's just so damn easy for someone to make it out like you're a big risk and get your name out there as an easy, justifiable thing. And that's what I do. So it's just, you're just running that risk. And I think, honestly, if a winner or even a finalist can make it all the way to the merge, you've already done pretty well. And frankly, the others should have voted you out. So you probably deserve to be there, That's my philosophy on it anyway.
I think that's great. It's as simple as, they had their shot. This is our first shot. Let's just get rid of them. They've had their time. This is our time. I think to finish on John, I think actually having played with John and knowing John quite well, Mitch, I think your game is actually, I think you and your game are actually very similar to John's. I think you're softly spoken, very intelligent, strong strategy, strong social game, generally non-threatening, but people should actually be more threatened by you than they actually are. I think the one thing that was different about John's game in Melbourne and your game in Backyard is that when he got to the sort of final, the end game, he was able to push the outcomes he wanted, whereas you couldn't get your outcomes through because you'd ended up with too many strong people around, whereas he got rid of the strong people and just ended up with the sort of lesser threats and then was able to sort of push them into a position.
Look, I'll take it as a compliment because I do see John as a strong player, but for Backyard 2, I definitely got to that point in the game and I had no social influence. I had no strategic influence. No one would really listen to me by that point. And I felt like I was just sort of cockroaching my way past a few more votes and trying. I was trying to get a vote together, but I felt very undermined by other people. And so I knew that, no one was really taking what I said with much stock. So
you're a subtle influencer style player. That's not going to work on a Keegan or a Stephen or a Jess who are just all in their own head about their own thoughts, right?
Yeah. Look, and credit to them. I don't know what time was it. 1 a.m. I had a splitting headache. I lost a whole round because I went and got paracetamol, and then I got taken for a confessional, and then it was tribal council. So I was so out of the loop.
Did you survive that round though?
I was probably, as much as I would have loved to stick around and keep playing, it felt like a bit of a mercy kill. Can I say that? I was.
Did you survive the paracetamol round, or was that the round you voted out?
No, I had immunity. I think that was when John was voted out just before I was. Yeah. And so by that point, like I particularly with Sarah, I think one of my biggest regrets was not maintaining some relationship with Sarah, because I just felt pretty safe with her. So that, like, you know, we weren't going to target each other too much. As much as I wasn't necessarily on her side and I didn't feel like she was necessarily on my side, I was trying to keep a relationship with her, and then I just completely lost track. And that round, you know, I didn't talk to anyone really. So, I think that really put me out of the loop with that final nail on the coffin, so to speak. But
the winner of Canberra Survivor, again, the other two-time player, while we have you here, the only two-time player to go on and win. Now, she had all the advantages of having played before, having to able to reflect on that experience and use that to improve her game, but without the disadvantage of people having seen her play that game. So for all these people, other than John, who was looking to work with her and wasn't going to sell her out, she was a first-time player. But she was not. She was a second-time player, and we did the deep dive with her, and she was obviously comfortable when saying these things herself in her own advantage. Do you think that if the three of you had been able to go into a season where you were playing another time and no one knew you'd played before, like in Emily's case, a lot of people knew about you, or maybe in Mitch and Rosemary's case, people didn't necessarily know you played, but there's a risk they did. But at the very least, there were people there that you were perhaps worried, well, they could say something about it. You know, Keegan could mention you. Emily could have mentioned you, Rose, on the way out when you're sending her out. Like, anything could have happened, and therefore you don't have that level of pure, like, I've got a blank slate here. Do you think if you had a full blank slate with everything you knew, you could go even further?
I've wondered this. I've thought about this in the context of, you know, if you went to America and just did a game with no one you knew, how would that turn out? I don't know. I feel like personally the cards were dealt the way they were dealt, and I don't know that it would have made the biggest difference. I mean, I think in terms of the swap screw, it's always these Just brothers getting me out, I swear. But seriously, Emily, it's always them. But yeah, I mean, possibly the counterfactual if Keegan was not there in that second configuration of tribe, if it had been just people I didn't really know, would that have changed it?
Like Isaac's there instead, say, you know, as an example, instead of Keegan.
Yeah. Look, honestly, I think I might have had a slightly better shot, but also I might not have. They might have just been like, nah, let's just pagong, you know? So it might have been the same but different. Like different reasoning but the same outcome.
I think you need another shot, but without the bad. I think you need another shot, but without the bad luck. As you could go to America, but as Liz said, you might go there and just end up to see another person that you played with. I don't know if you guys know this story because you're not as like obsessed with the community as I am. But Ethan Bromelo and Maddie Pitcher, who were like absolute ride or dies in Sydney Survivor together, came 4th and 5th. And became good friends after that. without telling each other, flew halfway around the world to America to play a 10-day Survivor game.
Wow.
Only to find that they were both playing on the same season.
That's hilarious.
And then people are like, and then people, of course, are saying, "Oh, you guys are both from Australia. Do you know each other?" Because, like, you know, you're like, no, Australia's got 30 million people in it. Like, you don't know everyone from Australia. And they were literally like the closest allies possible. Matt P did win that game, and I think Ethan might have been on the jury to vote for him, which is kind of nice. But yeah, it was like a 10-day game. So that's what happened to you, Rose. You'll go halfway around the world. You'll see the Keegan on the side. You'll get swap screwed, and then Keegan will vote you up a third time. That's what would happen for sure.
Yeah, it will, and you know, it'll be someone from this crew or something like that I'll meet. Yeah.
Rose, I've been on your side before, so you know, I've wanted to work with you. You voted me out.
Mitch, you always say that, but there's a reason I doubt the sincerity.
All right, fair. Yeah, look, I think for me...
Blank slate, knowing everything you know, how do you think you could go?
Yeah, I think if I went into Backyard without Keegan there, or without him knowing a couple of my previous games, yeah, I think that might have made a difference. I think early on, we kind of ended up in an alliance together through Stephen and Casey, and I was trying to not really work with him and not capitalize on the fact that we knew each other already. But because we'd ended up connecting with the same other people, it happened naturally. And I was always a bit wary of him, of course.
Look who's turned up.
Yeah, great time. I'm a bit sad that we've mentioned him this many times, so I don't really want to use his name.
I know, what's the airtime here? I was just about to say, who's the common thread?
But yeah, look, there's a time, it makes it into an episode where Keegan's going around to people and saying, "Oh, Mitch is a big threat." And I was watching it back thinking, at what point had I become a threat in that game? I was like, what? And I don't think he was really pulling on Backyard Survivor Season 2 to say that. But he's free to lie. He's free to say things that make people believe things that aren't true, right? So I'm not going to diss it as a strategy. And if it works, it works. But yeah, look, I good on him. He made it further than me both times we played together. But I do think it could have made a difference towards the end there if he was more open to seeing me as someone who was not going to be a threat by the very end of the game. Yeah. Because I think he knew that if he did take me further, I could still be a threat to him there. But he was more inclined to want to take me out because of how he'd seen me play previously.
You're also very eloquent. You know, maybe he was afraid of having you. He's seen you, heard you talk a lot. Maybe he thinks you'll be, you know,
very why people vote me out, CK.
You are very eloquent.
Like
you explain yourself very well. It's really the best thing. He'd won 2 immunities. You're all around.
Yeah, I think he did too. I don't know if you'd won both of them by then, but either way.
Yeah, but think how many
Keegan's obviously a threat, and he needs to say that other people are threats. Like this is that's what you have to say, right? I'm not the only threat here. Everyone's a threat. Steven's a threat. Yeah. Jess is a threat. Mitch is a threat. They're all threats.
And as I said before, by that point in the game, I felt like it was just like I'd missed a whole round, slipping through my fingers, and I was looking around thinking, oh, I don't know if, like, with what the jury has seen and what I feel capable of doing, and the quality of these people around me, I don't think if I get to the end that I'll be able to win. So I was feeling very much like a goat and just kind of like crawling my way through with a really throbbing headache. So as I said, it was fine. I wanted to go further, but of course, yeah.
And going back to where we started, Emily, you had a blank slate and you got all the way to the end. And as you've now learned on this show, we've deemed you the winner under the Tour de France rules. So you already did it on the blank slate. But But do you think that if you had a blank slate and you didn't have a situation where the two people you were at the end with were in a secret relationship the whole time and were in a fair game, that, you know, you would in that position be in a position to win it with the votes and not on a countback?
I think it all depends. Like, you can say, yes, I've got possibly the skills to do it. I still don't have people skills. That's something I know that I lack a lot. And so jury management was definitely something I couldn't do in Melbourne Survivor Season 2. And I don't know that I've learnt enough people skills to be able to do that in any other one. Challenge-wise, like, I've kind of proven that I can do the challenges. And I think I was super lucky to be able to pull the votes the way they were, where people were seeing me as a threat, but they didn't all do it at once. I was able to just slowly get rid of one and then the next and then the next as they slowly turned as well. So it was just really weird. I felt like, I just continually through the game was going, I thought more people would be voting for me at this stage, and I was grateful that they weren't, because every time it was just we had one extra vote each time to be able to pull our numbers. But I think it all depends on the people. Like, you're going to get a new bunch of people. Everyone's going to come in with different games and how they're going to play and their strategies and stuff, and that can affect your game as well. So in essence, I think I'd have as good a shot as anybody if I came in with a blank slate again. But once again, I think it's anyone's game.
Well, I just want to say thank you all for coming on. As I said at the start, completing the set was very important to me. I love to tick off all the boxes and to get all of, now having had everybody that has played twice in the 11 seasons, and really also the 13 seasons, because Mel and Tara have been on the show as well. It's fantastic, and Andrew. So it's fantastic to have all of you on here to be able to get your insights on this particular issue, which was particularly relevant to the ultimate sacrifice. So I want to thank all three of you for coming on, and, you know, for your contributions to the community over the years. Emily, as we said, we haven't seen each other in person for 4 years because you were there crewing on my first season. Mitch, I know you did a lot of crewing work earlier on in the history, and I'm sure Rose, Liz has dragged you into like a bazillion fucking things that you've had to do.
I was an OG crewer before everyone else started.
And you'll be a crewer when you're 50 because you have no choice. Your sister will still be
yeah, because everyone else will stop and I'll be like, oh, fine, I'll come back. No, I just want to say, like, I have such fun memories of on Emily's season of Melbourne. Mitch, me, our crew got stripped in half like the night before by people not rocking up or something like that. There was some catastrophe that happened. And Mitch, but I thought this was still so much fun. It was just adrenaline and chaos, and we were running late the whole time. It was you, me, Keegan, Toby, JP maybe. It was basically us and Liz and a few people from crew.
We didn't know.
Yeah.
Left, I think.
Yeah, and there was a bit of crew, like people who'd been voted out earlier who started helping, but it was basically us four, I think, and doing all the confessionals, all the challenge filming, all the camp life filming. I think I ate like 3 things that entire weekend. Yeah, sure. There were a few others, but anyway, the ones running around doing the crazy camera stuff was us four. But it was honestly so much fun. And so to me, that's the essence of the fan-made survivors. I know they're shining out and newer now with better drones and stuff, more organized. I know Dan and Liv's one so much more organized, but to me, that's the essence of it, is like the madness and the chaos of it behind the scenes as well.
The essence is community. It's community. Yeah. Even with all the flashy stuff, the essence is still community. And as Liz said, she loves seeing this crew, loves seeing you all back together. It's bringing back memories. And Keegan, related to your story, was calling the Fantastic Four behind the scenes. And I think that even goes more to the thanking you all for your contributions. I don't think any of the – I don't think would be here today. I'm not sure the community would exist if it wasn't for Melbourne 2 and probably Yards Apart. Like the two of those, they're what I discovered just randomly flicking through Facebook. It's how I found the community. But those ones, even though they're not as flashy as things have gotten to now, it was the full season. It was the full experience. It was, you may say it feels disorganized, but when it comes out in the camera, it looks organized, it looks planned, it looks presented in a really, really strong manner. I look at that and go, I want to play on one of these. And I'm sure I was one of many that did that. So everyone that was involved in those early seasons, whether they were playing or crewing, is what made this community what it is today. So, you guys are all really thanked for that.
Yeah, well, thank you, CK, because you are part of making it as big and as, glitzy and shiny as it is now. With we have a podcast that covers this stuff, Wow. So thank you for your ongoing contribution. And I think a lot of credit goes to the different creators who put in so many hours to make these games possible for us to play or for us to crew on. Sometimes I might be happy to crew, but I don't really want to spend months and months and months planning everything out beforehand in the same way that someone like Liz does. So, I think
they all deserve so much credit. I helped organise Melbourne 4, and I've never helped organise one again, and I don't think I will. It was a fulfilling experience, and I enjoyed it, and I have zero interest in doing it again because it was so much work to put those things together. So the people that still do it and do it again and again and again are amazing. All of the main creators.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you all for coming on, fulfilling my dreams, letting me tick boxes. Thank you for here. Now, if you want to thank everyone that joined us live in the comments or watching it live, we love having you here with us. Obviously, we thank you if you're listening to this after the fact. Snyder, Snyder, who's a long-time listener, wants to mention that those early seasons, got the attention of the Americans, his art, and made the Australian LRGs popular. Thank you, Schneider. Thank you to everyone who's here live commenting. Thank you to everyone who listens to it after the fact. We love you all, whether you listen to it after or now. If you're here live, it's a bit more love. There's love for you that you won't see on the podcast. But, for the real people that are here, there's the love. But, you can hear my voice of love. That I love you. Thank you for listening on the podcast. And thank you for everyone who's been tuning into all our coverage. We are getting to the final moments. This series will end up being 50 episodes. And we have 6 to go. We'll be doing the coverage, the wrap-up of this season with Dan and Liv next week, and then on to Playing with Fire, where we're going to have all the usual coverage, and it's going to be incredibly exciting. So I look forward to doing that, and then hopefully a new season will come out. That's what I'm looking forward to. I don't mind recapping these old ones, which has been good, particularly for the ones that never got a proper recap back in the day, but I'm looking for some new blood. Melbourne 4 is close. Sydney 2 is close, I'm told. Canberra 4, I don't think is that far away. There are plenty more to come soon. It's just been, had 2 in a row, like December, January, and then it just dipped. And they're all going to come out at once. Anyway, I'm looking forward to that no matter when it comes. So that's going to be great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Mitch. Thank you, Rose. Loved having you here. And we will see everybody next time as I play the music. And for those that have watched the show, you may dance.
Thank you very much, CK. It's been a pleasure.